Hello and welcome to the Women Changing the World podcast. I'm your host, Olivia D'Souza, and today I am chatting with Karen McDermott. Hello, Karen.
Hello, Olivia. How you going?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm really good. The sun is shining in Perth, and lots of books are being born on this one, which is so exciting.
This one is so exciting. I'm sure they all are, but I have a bit more of a window into this one, and
Mhm.
it's so amazing. I am getting to interview all these women who changed the world, so
It's
pretty
amazing.
good gig.
Hmm.
So, tell me, you are the publisher. Oh my goodness, you are the publisher of this book and as well as an author. So,
Yeah.
can you tell people who is Karen? Who are you? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So I'm an author, publisher, and speaker. So I'm more well known for being a publisher because I became an accidental publisher after publishing my first novel in 2010. And so I am so passionate about helping stories get told. I've had over 400 authors now get published. And a big, gigantic, wonderful book like Women Changing the World is absolutely at the core essence of why I do what I do, is because stories go out there into the world, connect with the people who need to read them, ignite something within them, or heal something within them, or just, there's magic happens through books when a story connects, and especially on a page, because when you're reading a book, nothing else can distract you. You have to focus on reading the book. You can't do it on the dishes. You can't do it. You have to read the book. So, in that moment, you're absorbing the words and the story that the women in this book is sharing, and one is bound to resonate and just wow, blow the socks off you. So, I know this book for me it is a wow. It's a wow book. I love it.
There is something amazing about reading a story because you do go into this other world, and when you're finished, it's like, oh, oh, I'm not in that world anymore.
Yeah.
it's quite, it is
Yes, it is
magical.
that. We get to be like armchair travelers and go on to especially in the way the world is. And we have found in publishing a lot of people are, either educating themselves through books, escaping through books, or just, just a lot. There's a lot of reading going on and audiobooks as well. There's a lot of that going on. So publishing is my main thing. I'm also an author of 40 books. So I think I bring that into it as well. That's why I'm a different type of publisher, because I know the author journey, I know how to honor it. So I know, I really connect with that way. I'm also a mum of six as well. Proud mum of six. It's always one of those things I like to share because you can still follow your passions and be a very present mum.
I think I could probably. I have so many questions. I'd love to know lots about you. You're such an intriguing, interesting person. But maybe I should ask about the story in the book. What did you share in the book?
I shared in the book my TEDx talk, so I done a variation of that because that was the brief for the book, was to share something as if it is a TEDx talk. So I actually shared my TEDx talk that I did and give it a bit of an intro and an outro. And the TEDx talk that I did was under my writing name, which is KP Weaver. And the reason why I share under that is because I write, everybody else says, how do you do what you do? And I lived through seven life principles. And so I talk about those life principles and how you can just live a next level life if you embrace those types of principles. And they are mindfulness, knowing, intention, gratitude, love, forgiveness, and belief. And those are the principles I live through. I prioritize joy very highly, because when you live high vibrational and focus on joy, you're always going to be successful in whatever you do. So I always highly prioritize it.
Well, that's interesting because
Mm.
sometimes, you might feel like you don't have enough hours in the day and you've got to achieve all of these things. So if you've
There's
got
never enough
just
hours, Libby. That's never going to change. So we just have to accept it, focus on the I cans, and do what we can.
do what we can, but maybe sometimes things that give you joy might have other benefits. Is that what you're saying with joy?
Well, I'm blessed because I get to do what I love every day. So my job doesn't feel like a job. It's what I chose. I aligned it with my values. So I get to drop my kids to school, pick them up from school. And we've grown, I have a team now, but that wasn't always the case. So I am a hard worker. I'm not going to say I haven't worked my ass off because I absolutely have. But I'm also a dreamer. So we get to do a bit of magic and go after things that may seem unachievable, and then we achieve them, and then we're like, yes. So it's a fun adventure, and that's what I think as an author, you go for fun adventures in your mind and put them on the page, but life's an adventure as well. And you don't have, because the way the world is now, you can have an adventure. It's just all about your perspective, and if you just shift your perspective, I go through different rhythm in life. For the school term, I work. It doesn't feel like work. I'm productive during the school term. I do lots of things. If I'm writing a book, I tend to write first thing in the morning at 5 a.m. It's my writing time, I think, because I'm more connected to a dreamlike state. So the words tend to flow then. And I just love starting my days like that, especially at the moment when we're coming into summer. Tomorrow's the first day of summer here in Perth, and the sun's up at 5 a.m. It's just so beautiful and magical. And that energy is a beautiful energy for me to write in. So I don't have any inhibitions or blocks around writing. It just seems to flow through me because I've got into that rhythm with that. And so when it's school holidays, I switch. It's like a switch in my brain switches. And my priorities change. Some of my priorities are to hang out with my kids during the day, do fun things, I fill my soul cup. I do work, if it's needed to be done, but it is a priority. But the priority is because kids grow up too fast, that's the thing. So,
Well, as someone who does achieve so much, it's very impressive. What is your morning routine? So you get up and you write generally for how long?
well, generally 6:30 because that's when I start stirring the kids up to get up if they're not already up. As I said, I have 6 kids, so they're from 6 to 25. My 25-year-old has flown in the nest and has his own, and he's actually my office manager. He's amazing. He's everything in place. He's not flighty or anything. He's very strategic, and everything's done correctly. So he's the other side of the brain to me, whereas I'm the creator of all opportunities and things like that. So we work well together. And then my next one down is 15. He's homeschooled. I've homeschooled him for 4 years now.
Oh my goodness.
Don't overthink it. I've done the whole sitting across the table forcing to get him to do work. And school's not for every child, and school wasn't for him. And I just feel blessed that I could do that. And just by hanging out with me, he learns enough to keep him going. He's pretty smart, and if he's interested in something, so we give him things to do. I'm not in the office now, but generally he'd be there. He could do trailers, he can do audio flip books, he does different things, and he comes to a radio station with me on a Monday and stuff like that. So he learns that kind of stuff. So he's all into technology and stuff. But he's the fastest reader I have ever met in my life. If I could read as fast as him, I would publish so many more books.
Wow, and you would know a lot of readers.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Readers are amazing. We love them.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
So, did you say 40 books? My goodness, you must have.
Yeah.
So, are you always writing a book?
Yeah, there's always books in motion. Like, for example, right now there's children's books in motion. Kat Fox, who's part of Osmo
Ah,
Network. Yeah,
love cat.
she does a lot of illustrations for Serenity Press books, and so she's working on a 26 book series for me. They're little Mr. Men books, except they're for the alphabet job buddies. They've been McDonald's are interested in those. So we're putting them together with little plush toys, but that's a big project. So we've been doing that for over a year.
Are you saying when I go to McDonald's and get the Happy Meal, I'm going to get something from you and Kat?
Yeah, we hope so. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, it'll be so good. It's like 2022, 23, and that's what we're taking in for now. But we're just pottering along, motoring along doing them. But we've other books coming in, the wonderful Leanne Werner's 6 book series, Kat did as well. I think we have a Duchess book coming up with Kat. She's also done Hamish McGruff for us last year, and she's just prolific, amazing illustrator who is going places like in 10 years' time. You go, I knew that illustrator. And we found her. She is amazing.
So you've got these seven principles, and I'm not sure that we'll have time to go through all of them. But how did you discover them in the first place? Oh,
Well, I studied the law of attraction and universal laws. And so living through that, then I found that there was these key principles that just kept coming up for me. And love was the core essence of everything. So I'm a great believer that when you do things with loving intention, you get the biggest and bestest results for all involved. So that's what you see showing up. I'm just enjoying life and helping others, and I do everything with loving intention. I'm not going to say I don't face challenges. I do face challenges. I face a lot of challenges because when you evolve and grow, you're always going to face challenges because, and when you set big intentions, and the reason being is because you have to grow into the person you need to be so that those big goals are just the next step. So I just embrace challenges as positives, going, I'm growing another bit here. Let's see what I need to learn and let's get moving along. So I that's my perspective on challenges. They're not negative, they're positive.
they're a sign that you are stepping to the next level.
Yeah, and like whenever you are evolving, I always say there's the struggle before the breakthrough. So whenever I feel, just and there's a brewing, and you just have this feeling of just unsettling. That's when I go, okay, it's time for me to go for a walk to the beach. It's time for me just to do Netflix, or time for me just to blur, because it's not a productive time. It's not the best energy for me to put into things. But I know that it's a sign that a breakthrough is imminent. So you just need to ride that wave. A lot of people get very down in this time and all of these things. But I know, and I've been through it, and I don't ever give up. I allow it just to pass through because the breakthrough is coming. And so it's the five stages of the soul, and that stage three is the struggle, and stage four is the breakthrough.
Wow, what's this five stages of the soul?
It's a book that I read by H.R. Moody. I highly recommend that you read it. And yeah, the two main stages that I focus on is the struggle and the breakthrough, because that's where I hang out. But when you've had your breakthrough, it's like, what then? Do you just live in rejoice in that? No, of course you don't, because there's going to be another cycle. We're forever growing. We don't just get there and stop and that's it. You can if you choose to, but we're put on this earth to grow and to live life to the highest capacity that we can, and to see where we can go in life. So we're always going to be going in cycles. And so, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, how did stories become such a thing for you? You're so passionate about
Yeah.
that. Where did that come
Well,
from?
it's because of, yeah, my first novel that I wrote was a very heart centered novel. It was to do with, I had an epiphany. I was here in Australia. I just had my fourth child. She was 4 weeks old. It was totally irrational of me to even consider writing a book. But the call was very loud. The opportunity was there because NaNoWriMo was there, and NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. So that is where you write 1,667 words a day for 30 days. Now, I only became aware of NaNoWriMo 2 days before it started, but as I said, the call was very loud, and I had an epiphany whilst watching Whoopi Goldberg, because I had had a double miscarriage. It really affected me deeply, and I never understood, why did this happen to me? Medical reasons were just, it just happened, and you just got to get on with life. But that didn't give me the answer my heart longed for. And then watching The View one day, and I never watched The View or any daytime TV with four kids. You're watching ABC Kids, like
Exactly.
so. But this happened to be on, and this celebrity TV couple came in, and they were there, and they had had a miscarriage, and it was on, it was broadcast or whatever. Not the gory, but just the emotion of it all. And the woman was still very emotional. Whoopi Goldberg turned her back to the camera, and she said to her, I'm going to tell you something I tell all of my friends when this happens to them. This was a visitor that came to guide you back onto the right track. And if you do what you're meant to do, your gift will come. And I was like, oh, that's what happened to me, because I had been through 14 months of PTSD, and I was very inward. I call it my cocoon period. I learned a lot in that time, but I was very emotionless. I wasn't living like I had always done. But having the double miscarriage had woke me back up to life, and I cried tears for them, and I cried tears for the life I hadn't, I'd missed out on for but I started to feel again. And once you start to feel again, you can start to dream again, you can start to make things happen again, because the whole law of attraction is energy. But if you're not feeling any energy or emitting any energy, you're just lying dormant. So when this came, it was just like a huge epiphany, because when I lost the twins, I got pregnant the next month with my rainbow baby, I call her. And I moved to Australia, 35 weeks pregnant for her, the next September. And I waddled here. And then my fourth child was 4 weeks old when this happened. And I was like, I have to share this with the world. And so I wrote a blog post. It wasn't enough. So I started writing this book, and The Visitor was born. And I don't know where the storyline came out of. I just had the skeleton, and I just started writing, and it just spewed out of me. But the publishing experience, it ended up getting, somebody read it, and they said it was the answer their heart longed for, and said, you have to publish this. And it ended up getting sponsored to get published. But the whole process was just so draining and negative, because I didn't understand it and I didn't know what to expect. So that's why
The
it's
whole
very,
the whole process
yeah,
of writing,
of
do you mean?
publishing the
The
book,
publish.
of
Oh,
publishing the
okay.
book. In the editing process, I wasn't aware of any of it. I was just, I wrote a book and that was it. I didn't know what you need to do with it. So at the end of it, I had this book that ended up, because we ended up having to invest some extra money in it and stuff. It just wasn't all transparent, if you know what I mean. So I was like, oh. But then at the beginning of the book, the quote that I actually wrote in the beginning of the book: from every negative situation is the potential for a positive outcome. And so I harnessed the essence of that, shifted my perspective, and I realized I had an inspired thought that I had learned a lot about publishing through the journey of working with these publishers. So I knew what I didn't want to experience. So that was a real value for me, to work with other authors. So that very month, the print and distribution company they used actually opened up an office in Melbourne, and I actually applied to become a publisher with them. And I said, I made a sacred promise to myself, and I said, if I become a publisher, I'm going to help stories get told in a positive way, and help books get out into the world, because books heal, they educate, they're just the best, they connect you, that they're just the best tool for for connecting our world again, and reconnection is what we really need. So I went on this mission, and it just took on a life of its own. When something happens and it's going to be bigger than you. So that was the catalyst of that. And I set an intention to build $1 million publishing press, and I thought it would take me 5 or 25 years, and it took me 7, which is really cool. So not only was I good helping people, I was also good at business. So it was like,
Yeah.
oh, who
That's
knew?
handy because you need to be
Yeah,
to be able to still be there and do the good work. So that's why,
yeah.
like, I'm just thinking about what you said about, I guess, love underpins everything, and that is what your business does. That's why it's successful, and that's, I guess, the value in it, because, and that's the value of this book that the
The women changing the world.
thank
Well,
you, because
absolutely. Everyone has shown up in this book, and it is just full of love. Everyone has the loving intention of sharing their story with someone else to benefit them. So everybody heard the call, answered it, and showed up. And that's what we need. And especially women coming together and sharing their stories. Like, it is the energy busting from the covers of this book is huge, absolutely huge. And I get that with a lot. And I know that people gravitate towards me because they feel the energy. And it is, I don't apologize for being who I am, because that's just who I am. And there's people who just can't have it, they're just like, oh, she's too much. I'm like, well, I'm not going to stop being me just because you're uncomfortable with it, but I'm here if ever you need it. So there's just that, I'm totally, and I think whenever you've been through a dark time and you come through it, and you see and you feel and you get to embrace the wisdoms that have been gifted to you through your experiences, you just don't sweat the small stuff. You choose differently, because you choose to live at the higher vibration. So all of the other stuff happens at the lower vibration. So
well, there really is power in stories, isn't there? When you share your story, people can see themselves in it, and then they can learn and like And your sister too, Emma. She wrote her
Mhm.
book about her IVF journey, and then there's the
Yeah.
30-something women in this book. And then when people can read other people's stories and realize, oh, it's not just me, and they can see themselves and recognize things.
One of the things with sharing your story, when you have the courage to show up, write it because it's an energetic exchange. Writing it, you're going to bring things to the surface, especially if it's a personal story. You're going to bring things to the surface that may be uncomfortable, that may need releases, that you may not know have still been there, lying dormant. But it's an opportunity to release them, and it's actually a biological wonderful thing for your body. You'll actually get physically healthier because of releasing that. But also, in a business sense, sharing your story is one of the best business tools ever because it's brand awareness. People get to know you. It saves you time because people have got to know you, so they will know if they want to work with you. It's just, and especially showing up in these types of books alongside 33 other people, you're just going to be present, omnipresent in everybody's audiences. And there's just so much goodness. And every book, like I have been on the journey of so many books living, every book goes on a journey and brings you to unexpected places. And if you allow that to happen and allow that process to happen, there's nothing that cannot happen in your life. Like, look at, I wrote The Visitor. I showed up and wrote it. I didn't have expectations. I just honored the journey, and look where it's brought me. I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't have decided to write that.
Oh, well, you do inspire me. Perhaps that might be. Is there anything that you'd like to share before we wrap up, as we're running out of time?
No, just to honor yourself. A lot of us put things on to others that we can keep for ourselves and process ourselves, and just to do that, because one of the things that's really important is that we focus on keeping ourselves um our own cups full, because when we show up for ourselves, we are giving the best of ourselves to the world, and that ripples out and everyone benefits from that. So, and the reason why I can say that is because the reason why I fell into PTSD was because my cup was empty. I was just giving and there was nothing left. So when I had nowhere else to fall, only the real pits of the darkness. So when I came out of that, I made a conscious decision that no matter what, I was choosing to prioritize joy and live at a higher vibration. And I didn't have the knowledge around universal laws or anything at that time. I have learned that afterwards, but it's about the choices we make. You can't have a positive and a negative decision at the same time. So it's about what you choose for yourself, and that will be your experience of life. So choose well.
You have a wonderful perspective on life. It's been such a pleasure talking with you. So, if people want to
Oh,
connect with you, how can they do that?
I hang out on Facebook and LinkedIn a lot, not so much Instagram. And you can find me if you want to read my readings, it's kpweaver.com or serenitypress.org, kmdbooks.com, and mmhpress.com.
Wonderful. And we'll put links to all of that, as well as links to where to buy the book as well. So, thank you so
Yes.
much.
My pleasure. Bye, everyone.
Bye.